Greetings and welcome to the Transform Podcast. This is your host, Christopher Anastasio. It is Tuesday, May 24th, 2022, and welcome to episode 60 of our podcast. So we hit a new milestone, entering another block of tens, I guess you could say, as we start off with episode 60 here. Just wanted to cover one administrative thing really quickly, guys. Obviously, if you've been following us, we didn't publish any podcasts last week. We were supposed to. There was a plan to do so. Episode 60 and 61 would have been the week of May 15th. But for me personally, had a family obligation last week. I was home all week with my son, my very young son, and enjoyed the heck out of the whole week. But precluded any opportunity to create this content for you guys. So we just decided, rather than maybe squeezing one episode in here or there, we skipped the week, and we're back with our usual 2 episodes this week. So you'll get episode 60 obviously dropping today on the 24th. Episode 61 will come out later this week as we here in the United States head into the Memorial Day holiday weekend. So all that out of the way, guys, I have a very quick tip for you guys today, kind of pointing you in a different direction a little bit with regard to sales and, direct interface with clients or people you're trying to sort of ingest into your business, into your pipeline. So just something I wanted to share with you guys, something that I kind of run across on a personal level, maybe less so than from a Transform perspective, but an individual that I follow who I've just in terms of wisdom from a business perspective, for sales, for marketing, etc. This is an individual that I continuously, I follow him on social media platforms, but I will sometimes actively just go back and check in on some of his content to refresh my memory about certain tactics and methodologies and approaches and so forth. And the individual that I'm about to mention to you kind of came to my awareness through a book that he had published. I'll mention that book in a moment. But his actual claim to fame, which I found out later, was the fact that he, if you guys are familiar with Russell Brunson and ClickFunnels software, if you've ever used ClickFunnels to create landing pages, let's say for your product or your service, your website, whatever. If you're familiar with ClickFunnels, you know that they have a program called the 2 Comma Club, which basically means, $1 million or more in sales, in revenue, whatever. And so the individual I'm about to talk about actually, from my understanding, I didn't look too deeply into this, but from my understanding, he surpassed that 2 Comma Club landmark and was the number 1 individual from a ClickFunnels perspective in terms of sales for the particular year that he won. So at least for one of the years, maybe for all of the years, he basically set a record or set the bar at the highest level that it had been at that point. And the individual I'm talking about is a gentleman named Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi, it's Hormozi. His claim to fame in terms of business was producing a system to help gym owners launch their gym or bring in more clients, more customers to their gym, throughout the United States. I don't know if he ever did it outside the United States, but I know inside the United States, people signing up for gyms and getting fit and everything is such a huge deal that he was able to sort of capitalize on that industry and the fact that it gets stretched a little thin and you have, difficulty in taking new clients sometimes. So he basically, I think in the beginning, he would actually fly out to somebody's location, sit with them hand in hand and help them grow their gym. And eventually he made a name for himself that way and then sort of created more of a systematic way, that could be templatized and people could buy into and basically do without having Alex have to go to the actual location. So in doing that, I think he employed the ClickFunnels software for his business, and that's how he reached this milestone that I mentioned a moment ago. But you say, okay, Chris, who cares? Thanks for all that information. So basically, Alex Hormozi, and this is the way I came across him, he published a book, I think it was in 2021, might have been 2020, called $100 Million Offers, or 100M to be specific, but obviously $100 Million Offers was the title of the book. And basically it's a fairly brief read, but it's very incisive in laying out the way that you can, as a business owner, package your offer, package the thing you do or the thing you sell to optimize its attractiveness to your core audience or your target audience, and to close more sales that way. And I mean, I'm very much paraphrasing what the book actually accomplishes and what it says. It's the kind of book that I have absolutely marked in my mind that it has to be reread and has to be absorbed over a period of time. It's not enough to just read it once. So with that being said, very quickly, what I wanted to kind of share with you guys today is both that tip to go out and to find Alex and follow him. And I think you'll find that his content, in particular, is short form content, which, by the way, you could take a lesson from how he does that. That would be another way that you could derive value from following him, is not just the content of his advice, but the way he produces his content on social media. So hadn't even thought of that until now. But a lot of his content that I consume, at least, I have watched some of his longer YouTube videos, but if you look at his TikTok and his Instagram in particular, the Reels and the TikTok videos, it's really these sort of snack-sized videos, fairly brief, fairly concise, explaining usually really no more than one single sales tactic or marketing tactic. And not all of them are going to be applicable to you guys. In fact, you may find some are kind of anathema to the way you run your business. And that's, no harm done. I mean, you don't have to use everything that's there. But the bottom line is that there is a value to what he is talking about that I think everybody can get something from. So it's certainly worth checking out. But one of the tactics that's in there talks about how to frame your value proposition in such a way that you overcome certain objections. And it's just, so I'm going to share this one and another one with you guys, and then you can go consume as much of his content as you want. I don't want to tick through a whole laundry list of them, but these are two that I just want to highlight for you. So it's the strategic use of the word but, okay, B-U-T, okay? So basically, if you present a value proposition in a certain order, you can optimize the way your prospect's psychology responds to that order, to that ordering of words. Okay, so basically, you'd say something like, take these two phrases I'm about to say and look at the difference. My program, so I'm acting like the marketer now, or the salesman. My program will make you $1 million a year, but you have to put in 10,000 hours of work. You have to give up your weekends. You have to give up your nights with your family. You have to give up some vacations, et cetera, et cetera. Kind of a downer, right? It's like, yeah, I said you could make $1 million, but then I listed a bunch of stuff that's kind of miserable, right? But just turn it the other direction. Hey, my program is going to require that you put in 10,000 hours, you give up weekends with your family, you give up some nights with your family, you give up some vacations with your family, but by the end of that first year, you're going to make $1 million. Sounds a lot different, right? It's the same content of the sentence, but pivoting the two clauses around the word but changes the entire complexion of that phraseology. So it's just very fascinating to me. I mean, some people will say, yeah, it doesn't work as well as you say, Chris, or whatever. I mean, hey, it's in the eye of the beholder. Some people, that type of thing will work on them, and some it won't. But the fact that it could work on some of your prospects and convert them by reordering or sort of re-psychologizing, if that's a word, the way that you present the information, hey, I think it's worth a try, right? So that's one of the tactics that he recently put out there that caught my attention. And a second one, another one I wanted to mention to you guys, is basically, so just to back up for a second, one of the things that Alex does is he takes things that you would assume might go one way, and he sort of repackages them into sort of a different approach or a different way of thinking of it that might kind of blow you away a little bit. Like, why would you do it that way, or why would you say it that way, or he just turns these things on their head, right? So one of the other examples that jumped out at me was how Alex basically said, if you get the objection that the person has to think about it, or you could just tell they're waffling, right? And this is what I mean by what I said a second ago about sort of beating back objections in a way that maybe you don't expect. If somebody's waffling and they just, I don't know, I got to talk to this person, that, what you can do is you can sort of off-ramp them into a different mode of thinking by doing something like the following, saying like, hey, let's forget about my program for a second. Again, now I'm stepping back into the shoes of the salesman or the marketer. Forget about my program. If you were to construct the perfect program for what you need and what you desire, what would it contain? What would it have? And if the person lists everything that you've already said to them, you would say, well, that's my program, right? Like you just named everything that's in my program. You just named my program as the perfect program. So what's stopping you? But if they said something different, if they actually outlined something that's not in the program, then you could attack that specific objection. So in other words, it'd be a way to tease out what this individual, this prospect, didn't like about your program or what you presented to them. And you've sort of now cordoned that off and isolated that, and now you can attack that head on. And you can either perhaps offer it to them, if that's something you're willing to do or you're flexible enough to do, or if you're not going to offer it to them, you can sort of rationalize it away. But it's a way to take a broad-based, like I was saying a moment ago, just like a traditional kind of objection and response type scenario, and you'll see how Alex does this if you follow his content. You can sort of flip the whole thing on its head. You can kind of turn it in a whole different direction and say, all right, well, let's go with that. Forget my program for a second. What's the perfect program? What does it have? let's name all the things that you need, and then let's see if they match up. And if they don't match up, now we have something to go off of. We, meaning from the marketing side and the sales side, we have something to actually work off of and say, okay, these are the real issues you have. Let's address them one by one. So anyway, guys, I just kind of want to toss that out there for you. I kind of rambled on a little longer than I expected, but the point is, check out Alex Hormozi. Check out particularly his Instagram and his TikTok accounts. YouTube channel is good too, but I get most of my stuff from him through those other platforms. So anyway, guys, I'm going to leave it here with you. Hope everybody's having a great Tuesday night. Like I said, we'll be back later this week with episode 61, closer to the weekend. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and sign off. You can find Transform on Facebook and LinkedIn. Just look up Transform, or you can go to the website at transform.com. And of course, like, share, subscribe to the podcast. And we always appreciate that and really thank you guys for doing that. So this is Chris Anastasio signing off for the Transform podcast. Hope you guys have a great night. Bye-bye.